What is the easiest way for South Asians to lose their belly fat?
Lose it everywhere else first and then be patient.
Why do Indians go on holiday and gain so much weight?
If an Indian weighs 50 kilos, it's not the same as like a European weighing 50 kilos. What do you think of that?
The research on South Asians is that you exercise a lot, you decrease the chance.
The top 3 protein sources in a South Asian food.
So I'll go.
When I also decided to eat a little bit more protein, it took some time for my parents to understand that.
If you're like the one person in your family who's taken that step away, at the beginning it's rather difficult.
So I guess that again goes down to how much of like rotis and rice that you're eating.
Yeah, I think if I was going like vegetarian and like I couldn't eat meat like I normally would, it'd be some chili paneer variation because I just love paneer.
Wow.
Tandoori style, and then maybe garlic naan on the side. I think that's just a classic.
You are not brown. You are a white guy
Yeah.
talking about South Asian food. Why do you do it? Thank you so much, Nathan, for coming on the show. I'm very, very excited. You are a South Asian food expert. You help South Asians, particularly in losing fat. And I mean, that's a very interesting niche, given that you are...
Not brown.
Yeah,
Yes.
You're not brown, to put it lightly. Yeah. So that's why I'm very, very excited to have you on the show. Actually, to start, I want to know, like we were talking before the cameras were rolling about what South Asian dish do you like the most? And then you asked me starter, main course, or dessert. I have to say that.
A very crucial consideration, because if you ask me what my death row meal is, it always has to get particular because it's your last one. So main meal, I think if I was going like vegetarian and like I couldn't eat meat like I normally would, it'd be some chili paneer variation because I just love paneer.
Wow.
Tandoori style, and then maybe garlic naan on the side. I think that's just a classic.
It is a classic.
And then, I mean, they probably wouldn't have any veggies if it was like going all out. It'd just be straight carbs and protein.
Yeah.
And then starter, I think samosa chaat.
Samosa chaat
is my favorite. So
that's my mom's favorite. Yeah.
And I think for me it's the tamarind.
Oh,
I got
that's what
introduced to tamarind like 7 years
imli,
ago.
we call it imli, right? Yeah.
It would change my life. You know, I have it on nearly everything now. So
Have you tried the sauce though? Like, I mean, yeah, that's what's in chaat, but you've tried it as the sauce, right?
Now I'll put it on chicken breast. Yeah. So
Really?
yeah,
Like it that
tamarind
much?
is so good. Yeah.
You have to try with fries.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
it's so good with fries.
Deal.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. But can you tell the difference between Indian, Pakistani food or Bangladeshi food? Like, can you tell the difference between?
Not particularly, actually. I would say that most of our clients are Indian.
Okay.
And some Pakistan.
Okay.
But majority of my time has been spent with the Indian community, the Gujarati community, the Patels, the Shahs. So when it comes to the combination of the two, or the difference I haven't really noticed that much of a difference. When I am looking across, when I see things I don't know, that's when I'm more thinking in my coaching brain, where I'm like, okay, how much food is it? How many calories is going in? Like, so that's my next adventure. Then,
Adventure.
Yeah.
Okay, exciting. Because I wanna know if like other people can tell. Is there some distinct flavors in it? Of course, there's a lot of similarities, but that was curious for me. But speaking about the fact that what we just said, that you are not brown, you are a white guy talking about South Asian food. Why do you do it?
I fell into it. So 7 years ago, my friend is Gujarati, and he was like, one day I was working as a personal trainer in London, and I was working with like corporates and people that were paying lots of money for my personal training sessions, but they were just basically white collar people. So whoever came in the door got it, and it was 12-week transformations. And then he said, look, I've got a job opportunity. I've got loads of clients. I basically went to a wedding because he was Gujarati, and there was a 500-person wedding. And he said, at the wedding, I signed up 50 people, but I don't have a coach to be able to coach them. I only know you as a really good one. I was like, okay, fine, sure, I'll come over. So I ended up starting, and then with those 50 clients, I saw food photos of food that I'd never seen in my life before. Bear in mind, I'm like a spaghetti bolognese on a Monday. I used to think curry started in a jar on a Wednesday.
Wow.
Which obviously Rogan Josh is not a curry. And then Friday was chippy tea, fish and chips on a Friday. And then Sunday roast was like a lamb, or going to a local place
So
for a
proper
pub.
like
proper
white
British.
food.
Yeah.
British
food. Yeah,
food,
British white food. So I'd looked at these food and I'm like, what is this green thing? Saag paneer. I'm like, what's going on here? So I'm a guy who hates to not know. So when I don't know something,
curious,
I'm just like, I just don't want to look like an idiot, to be fair. So I was like, I need to help you. this is clearly something I don't know that much about. So I'm just going to go and do what I would do in any other scenario, which is jump 2 feet in. So at that point, I packed up my bags. I traveled with those clients. I went to their houses. I went to Nairobi. I went to India. I traveled around there. I went to the US because most importantly, I wanted to see how people lived. And I know that's what normally people do when they go to Bali or Thailand, but I wanted to help clients in the US, and they're very different to Dubai or India. And then you see these walks of life and you see how the family interact and the food choices. And then before you know it, you're like, oh, okay. This is a big task, but it's also really interesting. Wow. So I wouldn't say that British people, I might get some flack. I didn't have much culture. Like I didn't have anything, the values to stand for. Whereas actually, I really like some of the values within the South Asian community, where it's like family first. They live together for a long period of time. You know, mum's always cooking in the kitchen. Like I didn't grow up with that. I was very much a non-prescript growing up. So it was very interesting to understand the cultural dynamics and the behaviors around the family, and then the food became a second part as well.
Yeah, and then the behavior with the family affects the way you eat, affects your entire diet. So I guess that was something people in the UK or in the US, they don't really think about how family also plays a role in food, because I guess things are more independent. They think of those two components as separate.
Yeah.
So you said that when you went to the US, did you visit Indians in the US or okay? Yeah. So you were visiting Indians in
the US.
In the US, yeah. In India, and in
Kenya, and then I went to obviously I wasn't in the UK at the time, so I flew back to the UK.
Okay, so you saw how Indians lived in all the different countries. Do you feel like it was very different?
Massively different.
Oh.
Culturally and socially. So I'm going to make a broad sweeping statement. But my observation is most of the people that are maybe like 30 right now, not my age or a little bit older, most of the US people, they push for college at an early age. Yeah. So they move out earlier, which means that like comparing to a UK, Indian or South Asian, they stay at their home until they're married. So the amount of time that they get exposure to family cooking, family dynamics, family psychology, the more it's rooted. Versus if you leave at 19 to get a scholarship in San Francisco, but you're from Chicago, you are more than a product of your environment in that environment. You probably haven't learned how to cook the food, or you haven't been forced to do whatever you need to do in those 25 years. So there's a big dichotomy there.
Interesting. That's so interesting. Because I would imagine even in the UK, I guess it's common for people to move abroad or like study or leave their household earlier on, but I guess it's more common in the US. Maybe.
More common in the US because of how rewarding I think college is, or how much of a high steam it is, whether you want to be a dentist, doctor, or whichever push you've been given. In the UK it's still quite prevalent, but I think with obviously how great Dubai is right now, a lot of people are getting to their mid-20s and 30s and then being like, we can go. Yeah, there's a lot more people over here now from London that have got great jobs, but they've learned
to they know they need that space and that break. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, mom-in-law's just taking the mick,
But what is the problem though when I guess Indians, they stay with their family? How does that affect their food? What is the problem with that?
Yeah, there's no problem unless you have particular goals that are polar opposite to how your parents or yourself want to feed yourself. So I call it the kitchen dynamic. So whoever, if it's mum, if it's dad, if it's you, if it's auntie, if it's someone, grandma, bar, or whoever it is, they kind of control the structure of the kitchen. So you can sometimes get what you're given. You come home from a busy day at work and there's food on the table. It's very hard to leave that dynamic and try and make your own stuff, or say, no, I'm not going to eat that because it's not healthy. And when you try and make that change, that kind of friction of eating with the family to then trying to be the opposite of the family can create a divide and a FOMO, or it can create comments that come from the other family members, jokes, or even just like outright no, no, you're not doing that. Like, I'm not going to support you doing that. If you want to do that, you have to cook your own food. And I think that friction there from a family cohort perspective is normally a difficult factor. It's just how normal diets are set up. So if you get given a plan that has just chicken, broccoli and rice on versus traditional food, and the family eating traditional food, there's less friction with saying, hey, just don't add 2 rotis extra to my plate and maybe just give me less of this than going, hey, I'm going to eat
something completely different.
Yeah. And then if you look at the next 10 years, if they're going to continue doing that, then it's more likely going to be more sustainable, more consistent. and less of an earache.
Yeah.
I just want peace in my life, and I always know my clients do too. So like, if you just don't have as much earache, it's fine, you know.
Earache.
Yeah.
But that's true. I think even if you do try to do that where you're eating something completely different, it's not sustainable. Like you end up doing that for 1 or 2 days and then you go back. And like I've seen that in my family as well. A lot of like even now for me, I'm trying to eat more protein and I'm trying to eat less carbs, less rice. But slowly my mom particularly is understanding that. In the beginning she's like, I don't get it, you just eat roti and you'll be healthy. Like, what are you talking about? All you need is roti. Like anything that's my grandmother, anything that's homemade is healthy, even if that just means a bunch of carbs. So that's why whenever they would say that, and growing up I actually thought that too, until I realized, oh, like I actually need to eat more like chicken, meat. I didn't know that. I thought just eating pasta all day or rice all day would make me okay. So yeah, and then slowly when I also decided to eat a little bit more protein, it took some time for my parents, my mom, to understand that. But now she is quite understanding, and it's also affected her diet. Like she understands she needs to eat more protein, which is good, but that takes time. Like it's taken years basically.
Yeah, if you're like the one person in your family who's taken that step away at the beginning, it's rather difficult. But that whole statement of first they laugh, they judge, and then they follow is always, we call it the spider web. So we try and get all of our clients to be like that spider web in their family, because if they make the change, then the person after that makes the change. Then it makes it easier because now there's 2 of you, strength in numbers, and then there's 3 of you, and there's 4 of you, and then the majority are now eating better. It's almost like a conversion to religion or whatever. It's like try and get you over to this side.
It's like a cult.
Yeah, it's like strength in numbers, more protein.
Yeah, I guess that is what South Asians go through on a daily basis when it comes to family. And I do know, like family, they always have good intentions. Even when they make those jokes, they have good intentions, but they don't realize how much that could affect. Like, for example, even when someone who is overweight and is trying to diet, I feel like families, they try to help the person, but sometimes their comments can do the opposite, the complete opposite, where it just demotivates them. Like, even excessively telling the person that you're fat. I mean, not even excessive, like just saying that is probably wrong to do. Affects the person. Like it's also a mental sort of struggle, right?
1,000,000%. There is some research that is a rise of 25 to 35-year-old females within the South Asian community are highly more prevalent for binge eating, self-esteem issues, and body image issues.
More than men, more than guys.
And it comes down to, one is like the beauty standards in the West, but it also comes down to these factors that you're talking about now, where you get comments of comments of family members where it's like, you should look like this. You should have cheeks that look a little bit chubby. You don't want sunken cheeks. You want a bit like, you want to be full. You want to be happy. And then this poor girl's in the middle, just like conflicted between, I kind of want to look like this over here, maybe to fit in with my social group, but I'm also getting these back in the comments, and I don't want to disappoint them. So I don't really know where I sit.
Should I go?
And then they just flip flop, and that's what, like, Monday to Friday you're kind of over here, and then Saturday, Sunday you're over here, or breakfast and lunch are over here, and at home you're trying to keep them happy. So there's this prevalence between that, and I see it a lot where when people are trying to they take a lot of the more the person is closer to you and the more the weight their emotions are on your decision, like the more closer they are to you, the more they hurt and the more they kind of want to, I guess the word is, understand and acknowledge their kind of questions on you. So they'll say, or their opinion. They'll want to hold their opinion, their opinion on you, and therefore when you do that, you start questioning why you're doing this thing over here in the first place. And I don't mind the comments to some degree, but it's the person in the middle is always the poor one that's getting like conflicted.
Lost.
Yeah, because we have these things where people go to weddings to get that comment of either too skinny or too fat. And on Monday, I'm hearing about it saying like, maybe I should back off a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't go. Maybe I don't need to lose any more weight. And I'm like, but 3 weeks ago, you were saying that, your type 2 diabetes is really horrible. You don't want your kids to grow up without a dad. You talk about all these things. And now auntie from another mother down the road who you've not seen in 6 months is now telling you that you need to lose a bit of weight. She's far removed from the family. You've seen her twice a year. And now you're reconsidering your goals.
Your entire life, this plan and decision.
Yeah, but this woman you've seen twice a year is now dictating it. Yeah. And I guess that's the loop of self-doubt.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you put it so perfectly, because also it comes down to marriage. That's such a big thing, and because you were talking about girls, marriage, parents are girls in South Asian households grow up listening to the topic of marriage literally almost all their lives until they get married. So, and one aspect of that is looking a certain way so that you will be fit for marriage. And that would include, as you said, healthier cheeks, your skin color, your weight, all of your height. I mean, I don't even know how you can control that, or your skin color.
I'm still working on that. I mean, the skin color one's an interesting one. I don't know where within the Indian community there was a large thing about Fair and Lovely. Have you ever heard of it? Yeah. So like that was obviously like, and I've got clients that for later down the years have so much more nutritional issues and emotional regulation due to things like that. I've got clients that have been like, I was scrubbed as a child with Fair and Lovely, and that relationship, like you can tell from their relationship with food and anxiety, which all stems from like childhood and stuff like that. It makes it really harder for them to do things for themselves in the future, because almost from a young age they're being like, you're not worthy, your normal isn't good enough. So
you need to do this and that. You always need to be doing something to change.
I'm like, most of my stuff is like understanding the psychology of people will then dictate food, because food is something you do, but it normally relates back to how you feel, or what your goals are, or what your motives are. And if one of your motives is to feel good because you don't feel that good normally, food's a great way to do it, So
food is psychological.
Yeah,
it's not just a physical item that you eat, it's psychological.
No, it's a hedonic pleasure, which is part of the sex, the drugs, and then food. And if you ever struggle with food issues, just replace the word food and put in one of the other ones, and it changes your perspective completely. It's like, would you go on a Saturday and binge out on cocaine? It's like, no. It's like, okay, well then the analogies are different.
Food. Yeah. I get it. Okay, so but speaking about food and diets, I think if you take one step back, and because we're talking about bodies, the way we look, we know that Indians or South Asians are known to have belly fat, right? Like that is such a common, persistent thing amongst Indians and South Asians. They look thin because like on their sides they're thin, from the back they're thin, but then they have this belly fat. Why do you think that is?
So I get blamed for it in my comments because they think it was obviously the colonialism back in the.
I've never heard that.
So like a lot of people think it's because of like the starvation back in multiple years ago, which was from white people, and then when my videos go viral, I get told I'm contributing to that. Anyway, that's a different story. But I know it's funny.
Yeah.
But they're the comments, and then through starvation and through years of maladaptation, the easiest place to protect your like vital organs is here. So the hypothesis, and nothing's true or false, it's just a theory, because if you like Colombian women hold it in their butts, I'm sure that there's not really going to be a story about that. It's just natural discourse. Yeah. Unfortunately, you just got the wrong end of the stick. And then, but if there's some truth around that, it does make logical sense. If the protecting the organs at the last vital sign of like maladaptation or starvation, that's why they store it in the midsection around there, and then that becomes a genetic code or becomes practiced over years. And it's just the first place it goes on, the last place it comes off. But when we look at that, I always try and focus on, cool, that's what you have. What do we do about it?
Yeah.
Because whether it's me or my ancestors, or it's just genetics, or just the look of the draw, you've got a pair of cards, you've got a queen and ace of spade, you might have a joker, and then what do you do with the joker? How do you play it?
Exactly.
And that's the most important part.
Yeah, definitely. I've never heard of that. I mean, regardless of whether it's true or not, I mean, it's kind of crazy that people blame. Like, I still can't get over that. That's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's your fault.
It's my fault. I wasn't even alive.
But it is quite a persistent problem. I think one theory, as you said, was colonization. But what about, do you think food, like the actual South Asian food that we're eating, is contributing to that?
So there's only one study that I know that kind of reinforces this, and it's down to different variations of fat sources. So they don't have the study on ghee specifically, but more clarify that eat oils like that, or like fat sources versus other things like avocado oil, different variations of fat, with polyunsaturated and saturated fats. And what they did is they put people in a position where they were eating, over consuming massively. And they were like, right, if I give you this oil, and let's say it's ghee, and let's say it's coconut oil. If I give you coconut oil and you eat 7,000 calories of it, and I give you 7,000 calories of ghee, where does the body fat get stored? And actually from the ghee stuff, well, it was actually a different variation, but very close to ghee, it's stored more in the belly.
Wow.
Versus the coconut. But that's the only study I've ever seen that kind of, because not many people want to give people 7,000 calories of just like an oil.
I think that would be a little too much. Yeah.
So that's the only study I've ever seen that kind of supports that there may be some increased in visceral fat around the belly versus fat consumption of everywhere.
Because of South Asian food,
because of whatever that specific food is from a ghee perspective.
Yeah.
But I don't think majority of the time it comes down to the ingredients that are in it. That's where I guess the confusion starts, because people are like, oh, but is it this one? Is it that one? Is it my roti? Is it my rice? Is it this? It's generally the quantity of that. And when you have multiple plates and multiple servings and multiple socials and then festivals and religious festivals, and then you've got other people wanting you to eat for particular foods, and then you've got your own normal snacking and your own normal motivation, it's a cluster of potential reasons. But most of it, I always stay away from the ingredients and come back to, okay, let's say all ingredients were equal. How much of this stuff are we eating? Treating it like a bank balance to start with. And then after that, you can get a little bit more specific, because you can have benefits from ghee, you can have benefits of oils, you can have benefits of roti and dal. But let's get you not type 2 diabetic first. Let's get you not in a BMI above 25. And then we can have a little nuance of the differences. Because a lot of people start in the nuances, but they actually don't do the macro.
Interesting. So I guess it's not necessarily the food that South Asians eat, it's how much they eat it. It's the quantity of whatever it is that they're eating. Yeah. Interesting.
There's two parts of that, which is loads of parts, but there's two easy ones, which you might be able to identify. One is eating speed.
Okay.
So when people eat fast, so I love food eating challenges on YouTube. Like when I'm dieting, like I'm now, I'm watching vicariously through someone doing a 20,000 calorie challenge of 5 guys or something. But you watch those guys and you ask them their tactics, and the tactic is to eat as much as they can in the first 5 to 7 minutes, and then they hit a wall. And then they have to go through that wall. It becomes very more difficult. That's why they rush at the beginning. And that's something called, and you'll know this because of all of this stuff in the news with like GLP-1, which is the fat loss injections, where you actually have GLP-1, you naturally produce it from chewing for more than 5 to 7 minutes.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a very small dose compared to the Ozempics. But if you chew for longer, you actually then be less hungry later.
So wait, if you chew longer, what your mouth produces is similar to is a less dose, but it's kind of like a fat loss thing that's in Ozempic.
Yeah, so it's a satiation drug. So it basically keeps you from full. It keeps you full as much as it can do with the food that you're eating. So GLP is produced in your saliva as you're eating to signal down to many different other processes, and it helps with insulin regulation and other things as well, but focus on the hunger. So when you're acting like a person that's doing an eating challenge, it only gets signaled after a time period or a specific chew rate. So that's why, like, if you've ever done any mindfulness stuff, they'll be like, oh, chew 20 chews per mouthful, because they want you to, one, chew your food and digest it, which helps with your digestion and bloating. But the second part is that it means that you don't have to eat as much because you're going to be full.
Fuller, quicker.
Yeah. So,
interesting.
So that's a massive one with the South Asian community. Fast is best. Yeah. Whereas if we want to do the opposite of eating challenges, we want to do the opposite, so stay over here and eat slow. That's one of the easiest ways that most people overconsume, because they still feel hungry after maybe the food, and then they go back for seconds and thirds. It was never the food, it was the meal hygiene. Yeah.
Oh, that makes so much sense. So it's just so one is how much you're eating, and number 2 is how fast you're eating. The slower you eat, the more you chew, you will automatically start getting full faster.
Yeah, basically.
And I also read that I don't know how accurate it is, but eating with your hands, like eating with your fingers, also starts telling your body that like your digestion system starts working faster. So that also apparently helps with digestion.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff in that, like Ayurvedic medicine, like the Ayurvedic practices that are really good. Like there's some amazing parts of it. And the hand stuff I'm yet to like really nail down a concrete answer, but I am assuming there is a mental part of it, and a lot of digestion is mental too, which is where you start eating with your hands, and then there becomes a more preparation that your gut and your digestion is ready for.
Yeah. Interesting. So wait, the chewing is not necessarily it is mental, but it's also like there's a physiological component to it. Okay, wow. We're kind of starting to get into a little bit more of the solutions or like what people can change. Just before that, I do want to talk a little bit more of the problems. Of course, this episode is not just about problems, but I just want people to be aware of what are the problems that exist so that we can then tackle more into the solutions. I think the number one thing that we've seen is Indians, South Asians, every other Indian or South Asian you see, they have diabetes, they have cholesterol, high blood pressure, like literally every other. I was reading a stat that almost half of Pakistani adults are obese. So it's like 40%. That's almost half, which is crazy, right? And then the fact that India is known to be the diabetes capital of the world. Like that's I guess
an amazing award, isn't it?
yeah, maybe not the best. India mentioned, you know, like those comments when you say something negative and people are like, Pakistan mentioned. But yeah, maybe not the best award. But yeah, we've seen quite a lot of this problem. Why do you think that exists? Or what do you think of it? Yeah.
So that normally comes down to, let's cut type 2 diabetes. So with type 2 diabetes, if you're South Asian, if you got both parents with type 2 diabetes, that's 66% chance that you're going to inherit it as a kid. 33% chance if you're one parent's on it. But majority of the time, if that's only the chance of just genetically, then the other part is about food. If most people get it, it's like half of the percent. Something's pushing that up, and that's normally down to the food at home. So most within the South Asian community, once they have belly fat and once they have like fat generally, there's something called insulin resistance. So insulin resistance is where like if you have your muscles and normally they would soak up all the calories or the glucose, they start rejecting it, and not rejecting it implicitly, but they start like being a bouncer at the door and be like limiting how much comes in, which means that there's then more blood in sugar in your blood. So that's why then high blood sugar happens, because it's like a bouncer at the door being like, no, you're not coming in. We don't need you. We've got you enough. Or you just, the bar's closed tonight.
So that's if you have muscle, then it starts bouncing it off?
Or any type of cells. So brain, cognitive function. I just use muscle because it's the biggest one out of all of them. And that's where when you have high levels of body fat, there's a high level chance of insulin resistance, which then means the carbs can't go anywhere. And then what did the food normally have? And it normally has lots of carbohydrates and lots of rice and lots of bread. And therefore, there's lots of sugar then in the blood, which then is type 2 diabetes.
Ah, okay. So wait, you're saying that the sugar doesn't go into the organ?
The muscles.
The muscle.
Yeah.
So that's why instead they go into the blood.
Yeah, it stays in the blood, yeah.
Ah, okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
So it's like a really, really strong bouncer, just leaves it there. And then that's where like you get some of the negative implications is where sugar is just in your blood at a high level. That's where you get the drops in energy. You get like no kind of nutrition to the cells. And that then becomes the problem if it's just staying in the blood.
So I guess that again goes down to how much of like rotis and rice that you're eating.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've got two parts. I'll even use this as an example, is that you've got you've got two ways. The bouncers can either get more friendly, which is your muscles or the cells, or you can stop pushing in the queue. So there's less queue outside. So most of the South Asians will flood the queue. There'll be a massive queue of carbohydrates.
A little too much, yeah.
Yeah, so like a concert or something like that. And then the bouncer then is stopping them at the door. Now, if you exercise a lot, you decrease the chance that the bouncers a little more friendly and let you in when there's more exercise going on. So if you do your 10,000 steps, you do 12,000 steps, you go to the gym, you work out. I wouldn't say like yoga is going to help with that, but like specific resistance training, that's one of the benefits for South Asian with resistance training, where you're basically letting the bouncer go, hey, come in the door now. We've used some of the energy inside. Let's replace you.
Oh,
so it lets people in, if that's an analogy to utilize.
Yeah. So wait, resistance training is like strength training.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something that makes your muscles contract, burns energy, and then you have less energy in that. Then the bouncer goes, hey, there's room in the door. What
would you say is like the most ideal South Asian meal? I mean, you've told us how to break it down, but is there? I know you said that it's not necessarily about the ingredients, but are there certain sources of protein in South Asian food that's better than others? Like, what would you recommend, I guess?
Yeah, so most people will go with like a dish like dal, roti, rice, sabzi or something like that. Most vegetarians will say, well, that's got protein in, that'll be fine. But to get your daily intake of protein from dal, you have to eat 1.2 kilos before you cook it. That's a lot. I've not tried that, and I don't really want to. Just like R&R research, my digestion will be killing for weeks. But that's how maybe protein versus what actually is helpful is a different metric. Like I can explain later. But it's a great meal. That classic dish is an amazing meal. It just doesn't have the really high levels of protein that would do it. What I would do, the only trait that you need to make that a proper good meal is either the yogurt on the side. And like most people will have like the full fat yogurt or the 0%. Most people will just put like a dollop on the side. Whereas I get my clients to maybe ease off a little bit on the additional bits, with even a little bit less dal and a little bit less rice, and then have more yogurt.
Yeah,
because the yogurt is dairy and therefore has more protein in, and then it can be actually yogurt and dal, different variations of protein. You need less of the dairy one to build or sustain muscle tissue and cognitive health than you do of the dal. Yeah.
Okay, and then so with the same amount of dal and yogurt, you get more protein from yogurt.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, yogurt is always seen as like this, just a little item, like on the side. It's a side item. You don't really see it as the main dish.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. And dal, like literally every South Asian person's comfort food is dal. Like we have it all the time. I know when we travel and we're coming back home and we're missing home-made food, the first thing we have is dal chawal.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I always consider dal as like the source of protein. So I would say that, oh yeah, I'm having protein.
Yeah.
But you can't tell how much protein you're actually having from that.
So there's difference between protein and what we call leucine. So I don't want to get too technical, but basically inside you got, let's say I'm going to use chicken breast because it's easier. A chicken breast, and then you've got protein, like it's broken down into protein. And then the body breaks protein into what we call amino acids. And then amino acids are what then is utilized. Some of them get used in your brain, some in the hair, skin, and nails, some to build muscle tissue. So they located the one that helps with muscle tissue, and that's called leucine.
Okay.
So then when you're looking at protein sources for sustaining muscle tissue, not going into sarcopenia, which is where you lose all your muscle in an older age, then we're looking for that leucine number to be high.
Okay.
That's what determines protein for maintaining muscle and sustainability when it comes to that. So then if you look at leucine in dal, leucine in yogurt, there's not that much over here. Like that's where you'd have to eat 1.2 grams of it to get the right amount of leucine.
So it's also not just protein, but it's also like what you want the protein to be used for in your body.
Yeah. I've got clients that don't do a day of training, don't want to they don't value it, even though I've tried my hard to convert them into, I don't want you to lose muscle tissue when you're older. They're just like, Nathan, I'm good. Like you've helped me lose 20 kilos. I'm good for now. And maybe later they convert and like, actually I want to do some strength training. Maybe I don't want to look like too skinny, whatever it is, frail. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, we'll pick it up when you're 60 again. Like I'll be here. I'll still be here. Charge you double.
I'll be here.
So I've got lots of people that just go with the classic dishes and they get amazing results if they don't want to build muscle tissue or they don't want to sustain their muscle tissue. Now, I would recommend everybody do that because that sucks in. I've worked in an old people's home, and one of the things that you see with older people is like you look at the people who have been active, so they've done like walking or very hard-working jobs on their feet, and then you look at the food consumption that they had, and all of them had fractured hips, fractured knees, fractured like spines, whatever it was, because it was like a real like rehabilitation center. And then you look at the people and their recovery versus the people that had never trained. They'd like, I don't know, stay at home, sit on their butts, watch TV for 20 years, and you look at their recovery between the two. These women laughing and joking, were doing little yoga classes, and this is like work experience. My mum's was the manager, so I was like, she's like, throw me in the deep end. And then you look at these people and they're like just sitting down, miserable all day. But these women have recovered really well because they had that 20 years of activity, protein, navigation of that. So I said to that lady, we'll pick it up when you get to 60 before you do that.
But it's always better to start early because that's when you will see the effects later on. Otherwise, do you think it can ever get too late though?
That's a good question. Something is always better than nothing because it'll only go down. And if you can stop that curve from looking like that as opposed to looking like that, you'll still be in a better place.
You can still improve.
Yeah, but there will be a point where you will not get benefit, you just won't get less rubbish. So it's just like more like you're trying to fight against gravity at that point. So I wouldn't say it's like a lost hope, but you're just trying to make your life easier at that point as opposed to make it better.
So, and then at what point is that? Like, do you think, is there a certain age range you would say, or?
I think probably like the research is like after 60 you're done. Like, but I don't support that. I think like the modern technology and when this comes out and like also in the next couple of years, most people will have the ability to be way healthier into their 70s and 80s than ever before.
Why do you say that?
I mean, AI is probably there. Two is the medical industry is getting amazing at finding stuff that can improve people's longevity and health. And then you've got the people adopting health strategies earlier.
Yeah.
Like, I get all mixed up with the Gen Zs, the alphas, and whoever these people are. But, like, whichever generation is, like, two below mine. The young ones, you know.
The young, Gen Alpha, I would say.
Those ones. They're searching more about longevity than anyone in the 30s and 40s.
Wow.
And they're like searching less about fat loss. They're searching less. They're trying to avoid some of the more health complications about their longevity and their health in the future than the people in the 30s and 40s are now, because of, I guess, the messages, the celebrities, whoever's kind of coming out with stuff right now.
Social media talking about wellness. Like, wellness has sort of become a trend as well, in a way.
You get your matcha, you get your Lululemons, and you go to
yoga. For yoga,
Pilates. Not me, I don't wear leggings.
I saw a video of a guy who went for Pilates, but then he said, I'm sorry because I did it wrong. So then he went and did it again and got his leggings and did it, and then went to get matcha. He's like, now I did it right. I was like, yes, that's the way to do it.
Yeah. And a little poodle, apparently. There's a poodle matcha. And,
oh, yeah. That's classic.
Yeah.
Do you think ghee is healthy, or is it unhealthy, or is it neutral? Like, what do you think of it?
I think it depends on where your current body fat is.
Okay.
So, like, if you are BMI 23 or below, like in that healthy range, you can have the ghee and the variations and quantities in absolute normal fashion. Whereas I think if you look at like your order of psychology to change things, I wouldn't be worrying about ghee at all, or even in the conversation above 25, because you've got bigger fish to fry that relates back to the body fat. There's small benefits in terms of the fat sources that it comes from, whether that's cognitive function or just how it stabilizes your blood sugar. So there are benefits, but that's on all fat sources, not just ghee.
It's not just ghee, yeah. So I guess it doesn't matter what oil you're having. You can have olive oil, you can have vegetable oil, you can have ghee. Choose what you're comfortable with, but then you have to be wise about how much you're putting in the whole the whole portions system that you mentioned.
Yeah, so I did a test the other day. I tried to blind test doing 5 grams of olive oil.
Oh.
So, and I've weighed my food for 12 years. Like I'm solid now, and I know what I think I know, and I think that's where I'm getting to. And I blind tested 5 grams of olive oil. First time was 15, second time was 13, third time was 4, and then finally I got 5 on the fourth one. So, but I wasn't allowed to spoon it. I had to just tip it like that.
So wait, you were blind testing, like measuring? Okay.
So if you can get the right amount of that stuff, and even I got 13 on the first try.
On the first try, yeah.
And I've been doing it for a very long time.
Yeah.
So they become really easy ways to rack up calories.
Yeah, because I feel like when you ask, the way you mentioned that, when you ask your parent, your mom, or whoever's cooking to measure whatever it is that they're putting. Yeah, it's like, how dare you? You know, like, whenever I ask, even for my uncle who made this, if I ask him, like, how much tea did you put? He's like, do you think I measure it? Like, is that even a question? Yeah, like, this just comes from the heart.
With love. Yeah. You can't measure love, you know?
Exactly. So measuring just seems like such an impossible task in South Asian households. So I guess it's more of an estimate that you kind of build up.
Yeah. You just use different things that don't involve the scale. So you can get quite technical or sneaky around the parents or whatnot. It's like, well, it lets you shoot, like, can you just put it in this cup here, or can you just do a tablespoon, or can you just, at least drizzle over the top while I watch you do it for a little part, like, so I know roughly what I'm doing. So what I had to do with my house help is, like, she would make this food, and I was like, I know chicken that's dry, and I know chicken that's got butter in olive oil. I'm like, this tastes too good to navigate that. And I'm like, show me what you did. And she goes, oh, well, I did this. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'm like, okay, we got some work to do.
That's the problem.
So now I'm like, okay, here's the little thing. All I want you to do is just when you put the olive oil in, just cover it to there and then throw it in there. So like it's like sneaky ways to do it, but if they're on board with it, of course.
Yeah.
I nearly got kicked out when I was 14 for doing that. So my dad, and this is like a white British guy, very proud, wanted to make food, spaghetti bolognese, of course. And I'm like, Dad, like I'm on this health kit, first ever diet, and he goes, okay, fine, I'll do my best to make the food I need to do. I was like, okay, here's the food, here's what I need to do. And I come in the kitchen, first day of the diet, and he's like, I just see him over the top of the stove like that with olive oil. I'm like, what are you doing?
Stop.
And he's like, what? I'm making your food. I'm like, not with that much oil. He's like, if you don't like it, you can get out of the house. It's like, I was like, okay. I learned the lesson. So
He has that South Asian
yeah.
effect on him as well.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I totally understand now. So we had to navigate that very quickly. I was like, okay, no worries. I'll just make my own food for now or whatever. But then we got back into it, and we had conversations over time. I think actually the lesson of that story was when I started taking it seriously and not deviating and having and he saw the changes in me mentally and physically and emotionally, he actually then wanted to support me.
He took it seriously.
And I think that most people have this trend of where family members, they doubt you because you probably said 10 million times you're going to go on a diet, which would be right. You know, if you've got a partner, you've been with them years, and she's like, oh, next Monday I'm going to start with diet. Like, all right, fine. There's the same with your parents. They've seen you since you were nappies. You know, you said you were going to be an astronaut, but you're not an astronaut, you know. So they see that, but then they see the results, and then over enough time period, they see that you're serious about it, and then eventually that happens.
They have it.
They come and go, okay, how can I support you? But I think it's when they don't see you cheat or deviate, where you're taking it seriously, they will then look at you seriously.
Yeah, that's
hard
that's
to tell
a good
somebody
point.
how to,
and then eventually they get on board. It's more gradual, and it kind of starts from you first for them to really, because if you're not taking it seriously, like why would they? Which makes total sense, honestly. Yeah. And then, so that's when it comes to ghee and dal. But if you just had to generally tell me, I guess, or the top 3 protein sources in an Indian diet, in our Indian food, South Asian food, top 3 protein sources, what do you think it would be?
So I'll go 1 traditional, 1 in the middle, and then 1 westernized or classic. So I would take the dal or rajman chole, you know, whichever variation that you wanted to have. I would take that and add the yogurt as a protein source combo. Then in the middle, I'd go something like paneer or tofu, because they are that better version of protein. You just don't get as much quantity for the paneer, unfortunately, because it's high fat cheese unless you make it yourself. And then on the other side, I'd go a variation. Is you've got your chickens, your fishes, things that have more nutrients in, like salmon and cod, for example. Like I guess what you'd call the classic westernized, chicken, broccoli, and rice. But if you mix them up, combine them together, if you can, and you're not vegetarian, then you get different profiles of different benefits.
So I guess the first is more vegetarian, like the vegetarians are mostly South Indians or North Indians? I don't know.
They'll debate you on that one. There's a lot of North Indians that are veggie as well.
Okay, so it's a mix. Okay.
50-50. Cool.
But if it was when it comes to non-veg South Asian food, because there's a lot of non-veg South Asian food. Like we love our meat, we love lamb, we love mutton. So how would you rank that if you had to rank like chicken, mutton, lamb? We also eat fish, but I don't think it's as much as the others. Yeah.
So are we ranking it in like quality or my taste? Most people's order is lamb.
Yeah.
Then like mutton. Then it's like maybe chicken thighs or something like that. And then it's more like I guess the more diet friendly ones, which is like the chicken breast, the turkey, the turkey sausages, whatever they are.
Yeah.
I think if you flip that order, that's your best for a diet, lower calories.
Okay.
But the key is knowing your favorites and knowing how much, and then you can have your own list. So I've got clients that will only eat like fish, or they'll only eat chicken because whether they're picky eaters or whatever. Okay, cool, no worries. That's what you do. I've got some clients and they're like over here. I only want to eat lamb and mutton, for example. Okay, cool, no worries. But you might get less of that compared to a chicken breast. No worries. I will eat less lamb for chicken because I want lamb. And as long as you know the consequences and trade-offs, you can mix and match. You're probably not going to be able to eat many lamb chops if you're trying to restrict your food intake.
Yeah, maybe.
You're not going to get away with that. And we can't have a mixed grill every day. But
it's too good.
Yeah, I know, it's so good. What's that place? Al Saidi?
Safadi? That's your favorite? Beiruti is my favorite.
Oh, really?
That's the best. Yeah.
I went there. I tried to diet. Tried to go there and diet last week.
And?
I managed it. It was boring shish to be. I was like,
So wait, you can't have like the kebabs and
I'm stepping on a bodybuilding stage in 4 weeks. So
okay.
I'm like,
whoa,
yeah, I know.
That's
I know.
intense.
I got rubbed into it by my girlfriend.
Oh, good luck.
I know. So I have to take it seriously because I'm going to be oiled up and tanned. But normally clients, I could, I would. That's more feasible. I could give you more of a variation of what you're having. But I have to do mine a little differently. But that's very good. I haven't had Beirut actually.
Yeah, that's the best.
Okay.
I feel like so much better than Safdi. It's here in Dubai Hills Mall,
Okay,
so
fine.
you can have it later.
4 weeks time.
Yeah. But I guess based on what you're saying, what I'm hearing is that because even when I mention what kind of food can work, you are mentioning a lot of South Asian food itself. So it seems like Indian food, you can be healthy with Indian food. You know, you can lose weight, you can burn fat with Indian food. You don't have to change to a Western diet of some sort, right? I guess from your experience, how if a South Asian were to follow a Western diet, how would that be like? Do you think it's very hard for South Asians to do that?
It depends on where you are on the scale of South Asian. So I like I said about So I always say to my clients, I'm like, are you on a scale of South Asian? Are you in America, in like LA, eating Mexican every single night, which most of them do, or are you like home cooked food 7 days a week, South Asian? Like, where do you sit? Is that 3 and 2? Is it weekends with family? Depends on where you sit on the spectrum of how South Asian you are. It will determine how hard it is for you. Most people over on this side rarely eat South Asian food. Maybe when they go back home or they go to India for weddings and stuff like that, they'll eat a very westernized diet. Some of the US people. Yeah. And then in the middle, you've got your 3 and 2s or your 3 and 4s, which is like 3 days a week we'll have traditional food, and then 4 days a week we'll have Italian or spaghetti or fajitas or whatever it is.
I feel like that's people in Dubai.
Yeah, 100%. I literally was going to say that. I've got like clients here, and they're 3 and 4.
Yeah.
And they've got other guys that are like, especially one family, they're traditional every day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it depends on where you're living.
Imagine it like a string, a rubber band. The further you are from your starting point in terms of your habits, what you prefer, what you've grew up with, the further you stretch it, the quicker it'll snap back. So if you're so used to 7 days a week traditional food and you stretch it to 1 day a week traditional food, there's always going to be something inside you that says, I want to go back to that. Because it's like it's the common place of like if you like it, you'll do it.
Yeah, it's your default.
Yeah, it's your default. And unless you have like this, and there are parts and cases where people need to change, and they want to change and not be the same as they were 20 years ago. Maybe they want to try not having traditional food every day. Maybe they just fell into it because of their family. That's okay. And maybe those people will be more open to then going from 7 to 3 to then finding a balance for themselves. But if you're on this side of the coin of you're 10-10 South Asian, and you want to stay 10-10, that transition is going to be very difficult.
But do they need to transition?
Not unless, it depends. You will have to make small tweaks to the style, the quantities, and the makeup of your plate. If you're on board with that, don't need to change. If you're quite resistant to changing your portion sizes and the style of food, whether it's like more, yogurts, more dals, more tofu, more paneer, and you're like, no, I have to have it this way. I mean, nothing's going to work for you at that point if you're very stubborn.
Yeah, you need to change something.
Yeah, you're in a position you need to change.
Yeah.
Change is the word. But if you're not that stubborn around it, you can make tweaks that make it easier. It's probably not going to look like everybody else's plate, but they will have the components of the traditional food.
Yeah. Okay. So, but I remember when we were talking earlier, you were mentioning something interesting about how you've seen South Asians or Indians, when they go to the West, they actually start gaining more weight, which I was quite surprised about. Why do you think something like that happens?
Yeah, I think depends on what type of household you lived in back in India, whether you had home help or whether you had family cooking for you, and then you transition to this whole new world. You go to do tech in San Francisco, and now you're 2 minutes away from Deliveroo, Uber Eats, like very similar to the Dubai Stone. You've never seen processed food like it. You've never seen opportunities like it. You've never seen socializing like it, because maybe it's done differently from where you are. That transition for anybody is tough. I remember coming from the UK to Dubai. I'd never partied so much in my life in Dubai, like 3 or 4 days a week. I was like, who am I? Tuesday night, Thursday night, ladies' nights, whatever it was. And I was like, in the UK.
You were going to ladies' nights?
I was looking for a lady, wasn't I? No, this is where they all hang out. It's what they do. They get me there, and I buy them drinks. So when I actually made that transition, it was hard because back at home, I was a stay-at-home guy. Like, I'd play PlayStation, I would be boring, and I'd read books. That was it, and I help do my coaching. But you get involved in a new environment, and that now environment shapes you. Yeah. So they have some really good research that support that people like end up gaining like 5 to 10 kilos when they come over to a
new country.
And I think that would stand strong here as well in terms of that. I mean, Dubai Stone, and I think it's just that transition of someone going across the globe. But if you are, and then from a South Asian perspective, if you are 10-10 South Asian, that's a good name. So call it 10-10 South Asian. You go here. Mum's not cooking anymore. The quantity of food, maybe the quality of food is different. The paneer doesn't taste the same as it does back here. So your then satisfaction from meals used to be a 10-10 and used to eat your food and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Mum or auntie, thank you very much for this. Then you're having some raggedy ass paneer in a different country that's sat on a shelf for 3 weeks. You make the same meal that you would at home. The satisfaction is less. Now you have this, more. Or you get different dinners because you're like, well, I'd rather eat out because I can't do it justice at home, and now I'm eating Deliveroo 5 days a week, and now they are in control of my portions and my bank balance, as opposed to me being, at home.
This is literally me because when I moved out of my family's house for college, and I just moved 2 hours away from home, so I moved to Dubai. My family lived in Alain, and but I didn't cook a lot in the beginning. Later on, I did, but I started eating a lot of pasta. I always loved pasta, but a lot of like Western style food, I literally completely stopped having Pakistani food completely. So always pasta, grilled chicken, things like that. And I gained, I don't know, I think like maybe 8 kilos like during that in maybe a year, less than a year, I think. But for me, that was like a lot because I remember when I was in Alain, I wouldn't gain at all. Like I would literally not gain. Even if I tried to gain a little more kilos, I would not. And then as soon as I move out, I'm like gaining left, right, and center. I'm like, what is happening? So even though I felt like I was eating healthier food, like I was eating grilled chicken and stuff. So I'm like, why am I gaining weight? So that's why when you mentioned that, it reminded me of myself that's literally what I went through.
Yeah. I think everyone who goes to a new place or transitions, let's go relocating to Dubai, you all have the same very similar struggles. You don't know where to get food from. You're probably living in an Airbnb for a bit. You're probably testing the waters on a car or a location. You want to socialize. You're not in a friendship group yet unless you get lucky. Maybe someone introduced you, but then you've got to make friends, and now you've got to go out a couple of times a week to get friends because you're lonely if you don't. And then if you are lonely, then you're probably eating more because you're lonely. And then if you go out, you're eating more and drinking more. It's like food is the way,
Literally, I remember it would be like 1, 2 a.m. and I would be alone and I'd be like, oh, there's no one at home. Why not just order some acai? Like I'm not even kidding. I think 2-3 times a week. That's what became my routine. So
acai.
yeah,
100%. Is that your comfort food? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be. Now I think I still love acai. I can't get over that. But yeah, so but I guess the moral of all of this is sort of to say that you still can diet with your traditional cultural homemade food, Indian, South Asian food, because we always associate Indian, South Asian food with being unhealthy. Like that's what when we think of Indian, Pakistani food, we think of lots of oil, spices, and just being unhealthy, and then that reminds you of the belly fat and all of that. So I think we've always associated it with it. So when we think of diets, we only think of the Western style, but I guess you can still do it with your own traditional food.
You just have the expectations. I guess the expectations of what you have for a meal will have to change. Most people's psychology has to change as opposed to maybe the food choices. Yeah. So if you're used to, let's say dal makhani's over here, and you're so used to having it with like all the trims, everything amazing, cream on top, whatever it is, and then you're like, okay, well, Nathan said I can have dal makhni, but I've got to cut this out and cut this out and cut this out, and it tastes like a pile of ass compared to this one. Then obviously then you're going to be like, well, that doesn't work, I don't want to do that, and then they become quite resistant. Whereas you've spent 20 years perfecting this meal, give it a chance. It was the first time, you know. Get some better ingredients, spend more time on it. But that's the expectation gap that most people will need to have if they want to have traditional food, is that it will not look the same. It might look the same, it might not taste the same 100%. But that reduction in taste and quantity is then that, let's call it 50%, is now you're 50% better in health and putting towards your goals. So you're taking away a bit to give back.
Yeah, you have to lose some to gain some.
Yeah. I always say, like, what would you rather? Would you rather me give you the chicken, broccoli and rice, or would you rather give me the dal makhni or the chili paneer or whatever it is? And they're like, well, chili paneer. I'm like, okay, well, time to make the change.
Yeah.
Your expectations is killing yourself. But I think that's in life in general anyway.
Wow. Okay, so it's all psychological, even the way the packaging is done.
I would imagine so. Like, if I was running a food business and you wanted them to triple your revenue, I would also want my food to be flying off the shelves because of how great it was or how much people would consume more of it. Like, I don't know if you remember the transition, but obviously you've got shrinkflation, which is where the Mars bars get smaller over the years, but you also have the introduction of like king size and then the share size. Share size was designed to bring it in, but no one then ended up sharing.
Share size, so like bigger size.
Yeah, like Doritos used to come in a pack like that. Then they became in a share size box.
So you can share with other people.
Yeah, but then no one ever shared.
You
So then
just have it on your
that
own.
become the normal size. Like I for a long time I didn't even realize Doritos were doing in normal packets like Walkers or McCoys or Skips.
Because it was all
it was always the big ones.
Yeah.
So there's a concept and solution for everything that they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Tangent.
But what you said about psychological, it boils down to the whole psychology of the human brain and how that influences the way we eat, including the packaging, the whole experience is actually, food is an experience. Like eating food is a whole experience. So that makes total sense. Okay, cool. And then I guess now I kind of want to know about because the kind of food that you've mentioned are food options that we all know about, like dal, ghee. Are there some healthy South Asian food that are underrated that people don't really talk about?
So in terms of like nutritional value, there are, but most of the time, most people don't want to eat them because they don't taste very nice. So like seitan is probably, or setan, it's like it's a soy-based product.
Okay.
It's awesome, but it tastes like a rubber tire, and unless you make it really well, it's like tofu. It's like tofu, but just a bit more rubbery.
I love tofu though.
Yeah, when made properly, tofu is amazing.
Yeah, but it can be. Yeah,
when you just miscook it and then it becomes like a chewing gum. It's terrible.
No, yeah.
So I think things like that. I think like the curd variations, like bean curds, that they are awesome they've got nutritional variations, fiber, but they've also got volume. So you can get quite a lot of it and taste and flavor to a meal as well. So curd variations are absolutely awesome.
So that's yogurt, right? Is there a difference in curd and yogurt?
Yeah, there's a small difference, but it isn't in the pasteurization process.
Because you were mentioning a lot of vegetarian options, and I kind of wanted to compare vegetarian and non-veg diets, because I was watching this video about Virat Kohli. He's the biggest Indian cricketer, and he became, like, I think later on in his career he became a vegetarian, and then a lot of these celebrities became vegetarians, and then everyone on social media wanted to become a vegetarian because Virat Kohli, the god, has become vegetarian. But then I saw these videos of nutritionists talking about how he became a vegetarian now, but all these years he's been eating butter chicken and gosht and mutton and all of that, and he's only become a vegetarian now when he has money to afford a nutritionist, a dietitian, a cook, and all of that. What do you think of that? Do you think it's, I guess, harder to be like an average South Asian Indian to be a vegetarian and be healthy?
I think it helps not being a vegetarian when you're not eating at home, because the options become, when you're eating out, it's a lot harder for vegetarians to eat good quality meals with protein and stuff. At home, I don't think it changes. It just changes what what food you're choosing. Yeah, and so I think in his case, there will have been some benefit to doing that. I don't think someone like that who's had his nutrition dialed in. I've heard him speak about like diets before. And he's like, I just get the plan, I do the plan, and I eat the plan, and then I play cricket. That's literally what he says, right? Like he's like, I do what I get told to do. I don't deviate. So someone like that who's like has that mentality already to then change to a vegetarian diet, there must be. Yeah, not like a covering, not just like a better health. There's got to be a reason. Like if I chose to go vegetarian tomorrow because of maybe a digestive issue, maybe a blood issue, maybe I've had higher level problems and I've changed because of that. So like lots of people change for IBD or irritable bowel disease. So I would assume that there would be a more higher level than just like fad or trend. But all the other people following him are doing it for fad or just stupid.
Yeah, it's literally a trend. Yeah.
But if you want to compare the two. It's just much easier, low calorie to get a healthier dinner, like a healthier dish. So when you're meat eating versus veggie. So any cross comparison, let's leave carbs and fats alone. But if you just look at protein, to get the same amount of protein from paneer than you can from chicken, you only need 180 calories for chicken breast. You'd need over 250 to 300 calories of paneer. So you're already adding a third on. To just try and make up the difference of your sources.
Just to meet the baseline
requirements. That's just for one meal of maybe 30 grams. And then you're doing that 3 times a day. Now over that 3 meals, you've had, 30% extra calories in those meals just because you're choosing a paneer versus a chicken. Yeah.
So I guess of course you can definitely be healthy whether you're a vegetarian or non-veg, but it is easier to be healthy when you're non-veg, when you eat meat.
And I think the majority of the reasons why it's easier is also because of variety. So most people choose vegetarian either religious, family, or health. If it's family, it's decided for you, and that's cool, and that's what the house is, and maybe they eat chicken outside. I know a lot of people that are let's call them socializing meat eaters and then home religious vegetarians. They go to Nando's at the weekends and come here. That's very funny. And then you've got the people that have decided for health. But if this person is over here eating the vegetarian food, but they also kind of don't really mind it over here, but they can't go over there because of the choice. If you then go to a diet or healthy eating, your restriction of food choices, like the plate, people might be like, that plate that you told me about before, well, I'm not going to do those portions because I don't get variety. Maybe I don't get the same amounts, or maybe I like to have different foods that don't have that in. So in reality is when you're a vegetarian protein eater and you're taking it more seriously than not, is like you've got 7 or 8 options. And if you are so accustomed every single day to having a different meal because mum's made khichdi one day, then chole bhature, then whatever it is, dal makhni, whatever it is, you're going to have those foods and you're so used to variety. So then you expect variety. We talked about expectation before, you expect variety. But then you go on this health kick and you've got 6 or 7 variations.
Yeah, and that's all you can choose from. Yeah,
tofu again, no. Paneer again, no. And then before you know it, the difficulty is not that it's veggie versus meat. It's that as vegetarians, the lack of variety hampers people with higher expectations of variety.
That makes so
much sense. And I think with the community and vegetarian, you've got South Asian community where dinners would be mostly different things every night or different rotations, and then you then combine someone that's used to high levels of rotation with maybe not an encouraging level of protein, but then not high levels of variety. And now they're also eating less food, and they can't go out for dinners at the weekends.
And then they don't meet the
So I don't think
it could be a problem.
I just don't think it's the difference between meat and veggie. I think it's what happens if you are veggie and then you try and take healthy seriously. Because you could have a pizza one night if you're not that healthy. That's great variety, or penne pasta or whatever, 4 cheeses.
Yeah, but that's true because I think in South Asian households there's almost always so much variety. Like even having the same lunch for dinner is like it's we do have it a lot, but it's still a problem, like we need fresh new dinner, and then usually that dinner is what we'd have for lunch the next day, and then dinner has to be again new, but in the same day you're having 2 different kinds of meals. Even the dishes itself, like there's so many different varieties of chicken dishes. Like you can make chicken kadai, but you can also make chicken handi. Like there are different. So with whatever ingredient you have, you can make different kinds of dishes.
There's always a different flavor, regardless if it comes from the cooking style, the quantity of the ingredients, or it comes from the herbs and spices that you use
Yeah.
in it. And then the combination between those three, you've got infinite possibilities.
Yeah. So you get so used to that variety that when you're dieting or you want to eat healthier, I guess that gap is what you're trying to fill.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest gaps that most people struggle to overcome, especially when they don't have guidance, because they go from 0 to 100 and become like, Superman overnight, and they think, I'm going to do this diet and fast in this and whatever they do. And then they don't realize this is having an impact, and it's almost like a reflective tool we have to use. And we say, hey, this is what we've seen before. We call it pain prediction model. So we tell our clients what's going to happen to them before it happens to them, because we know it so well. So look, in about 4 weeks, this is going well, but what's going to happen is you're going to start saying a little bit yes to mum's cooking because you've been without it for 4 weeks. We're telling you here's how you consume it, but you're like, no, I want to do aggressive diet and I want to lose weight in 7 days. And we're saying, let's do it, but in 4 weeks, when this happens, let me know, and then we can move you down. The next step will be the next step.
Do you kind of have to understand your clients' like families and personal lives a little more to be able to, it's not just like what they're eating, it's like their whole life that you'd have to sort of get into.
Yeah, for sure, like literally. So like everything affects food doesn't affect everything, but most of our day is spent thinking about food. Most people don't realize that, and when you take that away, your productivity goes up, your mood, your happiness. Like, I'm on so low calories now, but I don't think about food, whereas 2 diets ago, maybe 1 diet ago, 2 years ago, I was always think about, I'm watching food videos on Instagram, and then I'm talking to my friends about what they're eating for dinner. I'd be obsessed by it. And I know a lot of people who are in my field that are testing it because they know clients are going to have it, and they're realizing that they were a lot more food focused than they thought. So I think there's massive benefits. I don't agree with people marketing it in terms of like pushing it on people. I think it should be suggested for a particular criteria of individuals. I wasn't one of those that I would put in the criteria, but for testing purposes. If you battle with food noise and you have a deep emotional relationship with food, it was going to be incredible.
Wow.
But the caveat is, a lot of people think when you come off, there is obviously the easy way to jump off. Now, my personal experience is what happens here. Let's say you jump off. If you learnt nothing from A to B and you just didn't eat, you will get your weight back. No matter if you stayed on Ozempic for 2 years and then you came off it doesn't matter. The process that goes from A and B, and that is in any coaching fat loss journey and in life. If you don't learn from A to B, like the healthy routines, the mental side of things, the physical activity, the portion sizes, if you don't learn it during that process, inevitably,
very hard to replicate.
Yeah, and especially when then hunger is higher. So I've got a lot of clients that are now coming off it who lost about 25 kilos, and their goal with me is to not gain those 25 back. They don't want to lose any more, or they might want to lose a bit more, but they just wanted it to be maintain. And what they all struggle with is they learn nothing during that process. And I'm like,
they didn't change any of their habits. It was sort of,
it just happened because the desire was less. So if waking up tomorrow and not desiring to run your business, that's how it would feel. It's like there's no desire, there's no nothing. You wouldn't learn anything about how to motivate yourself, how to goal set, how to financially plan. You've just switched it off. So I really love it. Obviously, if there's some side effects that you get from it, then obviously don't do it. I know for me, it was the digestive process. I had a higher dose. I tried a higher dose, couldn't tolerate it. My digestive system was like, I was basically diarrhea all the time.
Really?
Yeah. So I went past the limit, and I was like, oh, I'm just pooing all the time. This is not good. Like,
I don't think that's a good thing.
And I was like, this is, liquid's not good. And I was like, okay, went down to a low dose, and it's fine. I went the lowest possible dose, and it changed a lot about my headspace, and I really love it for me. For me, but for everybody else, who if you don't learn anything from A to B when you're on it, then you will always gain it back, or you'll just be continually paying for it, and it's now expensive. So get your deep pockets out,
I think my main thing about it that I was concerned about was the lack of research, I guess, done on it. Because like now when I heard about the vision loss, and I think they're going through like a whole case against them because of, I think it was Ozempic particularly, that lots of people were found to have vision loss. That's just what scared me, because I was just like, I understand the benefits of it for some people, like the way you mentioned that for some criteria of people, but the way it's been used by the masses, and if you just want to, like, I know people who just want to lose 1 or 2 kilos, and they're
it's not
like, I
for
think
them.
I should get on Ozempic. I'm
It's
like,
not for them.
what are you
Just
talking
close your
about?
mouth.
Yeah, literally. And then they lose like a few kilos, and then they stop it, which is also wrong, right? Like, you need to go through a whole process of So I think that's what my issue with it was, like the lack of research and information about it, and people just seeing all these videos of how popular it is and how every actress is using it, so they're just using it and putting it in their bodies.
I think there's like obviously what they're going through with Ozempic now in terms of the legal battles and stuff, like that is obviously hopefully they get sorted. What I've seen in terms of, and I like I said, I always go back to psychology. So I'm like a nature versus nurture. I'm always like nurture. I'm like, what did you do? How did you do it? And why did you do it? Because you control your own body. Obviously, if you inject something outside your body, that's a different story. But how you interact on it, what I've seen with everybody that I've ever seen take it, or even my therapist was like, hey, by the way, I'm taking this. What do I do? I'm like, okay, well, maybe try this. And all got no negative side effects, but I would assume that if someone went from a really, really, really bad diet to not eating at all, there's got to be some like negative consequences of that. But that's also a relative choice to the dosage that you go on and how you use it responsibly.
Yeah.
So I know for me, I went on the smallest dose. I went down from like 2,000 calories to like I couldn't eat 800. But I trained myself to eat more because I knew that I needed more nutrition. So over the time, I ate more, even though I was full, to train myself that I didn't need to do 600 or 800 calories, because I knew at some point, if I do 600, I always think if I'm a woman and I had a menstrual cycle, which luckily I don't have, is that if I did 600 calories a day for like 60 days or 90 days, I probably would not have a menstrual cycle. That's not a good idea.
Whoa, yeah.
So like there's a certain amount of calories, I forgot the particular, there's a certain amount of calories that you go on for an extended period of time and you would lose your menstrual cycle.
Whoa, that's crazy.
So a lot of women might be going below or close to those numbers. And let's say if it shuts off your menstrual cycle, I'm sure it's doing other bad shit too.
Yeah, of course.
But that's nothing to do with Ozempic. That's to do with how you are reacting, navigating the situation with how you're eating or your dosages around it. If you've been given it by the pharmaceutical company, it's one twist extra and you get an extra couple of mgs and you think more is better, you go and you're like, okay, sound, I'm just going to do a bit more this week because I had a bad weekend, and before you know it, you've had 200 calories for 7 days and you're wondering why you're getting some side effects. Like, again, I'm 100% on board with nurture. Like, I've seen too many people do dumb shit that I'm like, it's people, but I also help people all the time, so I'm like, it's always people. It's
more of like the lifestyle. It's not like, just a temporary thing that you just put it in your body and you're good to go. No, it's like you have to change your lifestyle. It's a whole package. It's not just one thing that you do and you expect it to change everything about your body. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. People get lucky, but people also won't get lucky.
Yeah. So before we continue, I want to take my phone because I want to look through, I wanted to do a little segment where I say, I guess, a health issue that's common among South Asians, and then you could mention a food item that could help with that.
Okay, fine.
Okay, perfect. So I have like 7 things, I guess, common amongst South Asians, and then you can tell me, is there a specific food item? I guess if it's South Asian food item, that's more
beneficial. Yeah,
beneficial. High blood sugar.
Anything with fiber in, so subsies, bindi subsies, those type of stuff, high levels of fiber, are going to give you like low blood sugar.
Cholesterol.
I would moderate levels of ghee. Levels of ghee.
Diabetes. Similar to what you said. It's fiber, the way you said. Fiber, I guess it's similar, thyroid.
Things with iron in. Spinach.
Oh, okay.
So there's all the boring stuff, comes in.
Yay, I love potluck, finally. Low iron level. That's like spinach, every South Asian girl. Low iron levels.
Firstly, get an iron tablet because there's nothing as efficient. Nothing's best. But then if you're having iron tablets, then obviously spinach and variations of green cruciferous vegetables.
Okay. So that means you should have the tablets.
I think they're really recommendable. Yeah, because the amount that you could, knowing how humans are, they will not eat consistently the amount of veggies that they need to get the iron amount. Yeah, so I like humans be doing human stuff. So get your iron tablet and then I think it's more 40 micrograms or something like that, iron tablet, and then the rest is more beneficial. That's like icing on the cake. Take this. Most people don't like, that's another topic within the South Asian community, most people don't like taking medication or supplements or processed stuff. But when there's like, the alternative is way worse, where you have to eat like 2 kilos of like spinach.
Yeah.
Like, take the tablet. You know what I
Maybe
mean?
just take the tablet.
Yeah. Your grocery bill is going to be insane.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, because I know that I have to, because I also have low iron levels, but then I'm always like, oh, I'll just eat more stuff with iron, but I know I don't really do that. So yeah, that makes sense. Okay. I don't know if this is a common one though. We've written weak bones.
Oh, that would be anything to do with, I guess, let's use ratai, curd, or yogurt.
So it's like dairy products.
Dairy products, anything you can get calcium in, for sure.
Milk and stuff. Okay, so that's the little segment where we're mentioning that. This other one it's a quick one where I'm going to mention 2 items and then you can mention which one's better.
Okay.
And it's like, I guess, a common debate. White bread or brown bread?
White bread.
Okay, so first of all, there's actually a difference?
There's only a difference in fiber, but
Okay.
white is easier digestible, it tastes nicer, and it's more available in like households.
Oh, okay.
Brown bread tastes a bit like cardboard, less adherable to a plan because you're more than likely not going to have it long term. It's got a little bit more fiber, same calories.
We've talked about this, but white rice or brown rice?
White is right.
Yeah. Again, white. So again, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not like brown rice is healthier.
No, it gives you a little bit more fiber, but there's so much benefits from a household perspective with white.
Makes so much sense. Okay, so that's for a little bit of a comparison. Now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look through if there are certain, like, statements that I didn't say during the conversation. So I could sort of say the statement and then you can give your opinion on it, whatever you feel about it. Okay, awesome.
I think that Ozempic stuff's going to go crazy, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I think we just need probably like a statement for that. Like, what was the lesson from that we learned, which was...
it's beneficial, but you have to learn how to do it, kind of.
So Ozempic can be good, but it depends.
It depends on how you use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's the line. Yeah. So you kept mentioning BMI, and what I saw, which I kind of mentioned earlier, was that Indians are thin on the outside. They look pretty thin and slim, but they're actually fat on the inside, because on the inside they have blood pressure and cholesterol and diabetes, and the list goes on. And what I saw was that they were comparing if an Indian weighs 50 kilos, it's not the same as like a European weighing 50 kilos. What do you think of that?
Agreed. So this, like, whether we like BMI, I really like it for 90% of the people. The research on South Asians is that they have to be 23 instead of 25. So they have to be 2 points lower.
Yeah.
That's because genetic factors from muscle mass perspective and bone density seems to be lower on that side.
So it's one aspect is genetic.
It's just dropping it down to accommodate genetics, which is normally lower muscle mass, normally lower bone density to some degree. Very small margins, but that's the difference. That's why 25 is great for me, and 23 is what we strive for our South Asian community.
So then, in a way, genetically, South Asians are unhealthier? What would you say?
Disadvantage for benefits. I wouldn't say unhealthy, because at the end of the day, it's like there's so many different factors, but they don't get her for good. They start on -1 step, and maybe you start on 1 step.
So. But when you say BMI, which I guess it calculates your mass in proportion to fat.
Height. So it's height.
Oh,
it's height and weight.
Oh.
So it's very basic, just to determine height and weight. Body fat is where you're looking at your percentage of fat mass versus your percentage of muscle mass. BMI is your simple height and weight calculator.
So even if you have the same weight, if an Indian has the same weight as a European, they can still be unhealthier. They won't be the same level as that.
The percentages between fat muscle will be different, and that will then change the visual display.
Composition. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the fat would
Yeah.
percentage is different.
Most South Asians need to be probably 3 to 5 kilos less when you're looking at the visual changes, and most South Asian women need to be like when they want a flat stomach and they want like kind of the look that they're after, most of them need to be like low 50s into the 40s depending on their height. Like there's like basically your height, most in that area like low 50s and it maybe into the 40s depending on how flat you want your stomach.
Okay.
So the numbers are normally lower for.
And is that lower than like Europeans or Westerners?
Yeah, most of the time it's a couple of kilos here and there, and depends on how much people are trained. Like I always say to my clients that I've ate protein and I've done sport after school clubs since I came out the womb, whereas like your clients, you've been studying by a book, sitting at a chair for 18 years to make sure that you go to college and be a dentist or a doctor. I got told to get out the door and play football. So we have a different upbringing to some degree, and then the genetic factors as well. So there's maybe some elements to that too.
Yeah, it's like lifestyle, upbringing, genes. Why do South Asians have so many health issues?
Because the starting point of genetics, but also lifestyle, and then the relationship with food is a massive part of that too. The genetics are lower muscle mass, higher body fat percentage, even as children, and then you've got the lifestyle where maybe there's less activity, less training, more studying, and then you've got the nutrition, which is hyperpalatable foods, lots of environments of overindulging, and lots of food that is higher in calories creates
all of that. So it's a combination of factors.
Yeah.
And as we were kind of comparing it to the West, you were saying that in the West, the upbringing is very different because the kids are encouraged to go out. They're encouraged to, of course, they study as well, but to do sports more, I guess. And then in South Asian culture, we are very much about passing the exam, getting an A star in your exam. And so we're usually sitting and studying.
Yeah, there's just more different priorities. And that's sometimes what I said at the beginning, some of the things I absolutely loved about the community is like I never had to do that. I was playing PlayStation 6 hours a day and then playing football the rest of the time. So like there's a priority for specific career paths, specific ways that we want the children to grow up. Yeah. And maybe it's this generation and the next one have the opportunity to blend in physical fitness through the parents actually being the ones that actually start physical fitness. So always start with yourself, as you mentioned before. So if they can get that great blend, then it's going to be a massive race.
So, and I guess there's also like pros and cons to each. Like they're
no
both different.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong or right. It's just different.
Yeah. Everybody wants to know like why it's bad and why it's good. It's like, no, I would, if I was younger, I'd love to take that route. If I'd be way more educated and not just be like a personal trainer now, you know what I mean? I'd love to have that like forced down a path of like you need to study, but I'd also like the fitness too or the sports too.
I feel like a balance would have been great. Like for me, I wish I was encouraged to, I guess, do more sports. Like I wish I kind of ended up doing it in high school, but I didn't do it growing up, you know? So, and now I see me not being the best at sports, even though I try to be. But yeah, like a balance would be the best scenario.
Yeah. Jack of all trades until like there's a sport, rugby in the UK. Even the young kids, even if they want to play rugby, even if you're really good at it, you have to play a lot of different sports because they want you to learn skills and traits and habits. And I know that's a long shot of a sport, but in life it's the same as well. If you want your kid to grow up to be sociable and emotionally mature and physically great and educational, smart, you probably want to put them in all of those environments
from the beginning.
Yeah, from the beginning.
Yeah, makes so much sense.
But I'm not a parent that I know of, so I'm no advice.
What is the easiest way for South Asians to lose their belly fat?
So lose it everywhere else first and then be patient. So be as stubborn as your belly fat is with your diet and it will be gone.
It'll come. That time will come.
Yeah,
eventually.
Everyone just needs to know that it's going to go. You're going to feel that you're going too far and that you're too skinny and then it's going to come off. So it's past an uncomfortable level of skinniness, but because you just see it going off the clavicles, the face, you're going to get the comments, your shoulders, you're going to feel like I'm going to go in, I'm like going into nothing, but that belly's still going to be there. And you just have to remember that's what you're trying to get off. Yeah. And it looks a little different later when you're trying to build muscle tissue or you're maintaining it.
We've talked a lot about what we're eating and how much we're eating, but what about the time at which you eat it? Because I've seen videos of people talking about how having dinner earlier also makes a huge difference. Would you agree with that? Is that true?
My experience with working with, like, I guess, I don't know, 10,000 people right now is most people need to eat later so that they don't eat snacks in the evening.
Oh.
So let's say we're looking at like long-term staying in shape, being healthy, not sitting with by Netflix and having like a massive bag of crisp or popcorn or like crisps and chocolate. The less we can do of that, more probably the better. So a lot of people, they take that advice that you'll get, like the Instagram is giving, and say, right, I'm going to finish eating at 5 p.m. I'm going to be really good. 6 p.m. They don't go to bed till 11. Problem. 6 hours is the problem. And 6 hours of the most 6 hours of the day where you are less occupied.
Yeah,
so think about this time. You work, kids, consumption, maybe lunch out, dinner out, whatever it is, responsibilities, you name it, it's all packed in that 8 to 10 hours. Then you come home and you've got nothing to think about, less to think about. Maybe the kids go to bed, for example. You've got nothing to think about other than how you feel and how you like to do and stress and what problems you've got in the life. And then that's the only thing you got to think about. And now you've got 6 hours to think about it, and then food naturally just appears because the second thing you want to think about when you think about problems or life is,
ice cream,
snacks, yeah. So I treat that as like, again, I'm so psychology person driven. It's like I just need to fill that with food actually, but the right food and the right portion sizes. So I'd rather people eat at normal times. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then a snack before bed. So call me old-fashioned, but like I eat an hour before bed because I'm like, I don't want to go to bed hungry. Like, do you know how hard it is to do that for like 12, 16, 18, 20 weeks?
I can't.
I can't do it.
Yeah,
and most people can't. So then when someone gives the advice of 5 p.m., these people are robots. Like how they do it, don't know. Like they don't live a normal life.
But then they'll probably sleep early. If you sleep early, then it would make sense, right? Like if you're having dinner at 6 p.m. and then you're sleeping at 8 p.m.
Yeah, that would be glorious.
Yeah,
that'd be glorious. But that's it. Most people don't
do that.
They normally kids off 7:30 after all the classes, and then they get the hour between 8:30 and 12 to actually be in a relationship with their partner, or a relationship with yourself if you're alone, and you get your time for yourself.
Just time for yourself, 100%. And also, that feeling of when you're going to bed and then you're feeling hungry and you're feeling sleepy. Like I feel like that is the worst feeling you could have is both of the things that kind of makes you feel uncomfortable, hungry and you're sleepy.
You're like, I just need to go to bed, but this is calling.
Like, and then you're
detour
like,
via the fridge.
Yeah, and then you can't sleep because you're like, I need to at least have a bite. Yeah.
So for me, it's actually the opposite. So I actually make people's plans reverse. So whatever time you roughly go to bed, I'm putting a meal before that by an hour and two, whatever you normally do in the evening, then dinner, then breakfast, so lunch and breakfast. Yeah. Because that's real life.
And I guess because you said you've worked with like 10,000 clients, and amongst all of them, what is the biggest challenge? We've talked about so many challenges, but what would you say is the number one challenge that South Asians face when they're trying to lose weight?
The concept of change is interesting. So that, like, a blanket term, change is hard for everybody. And then changing whilst around the lifestyle that you have is big, like family members, or making the biggest change. You're the only person, no one else is changing. That transition is the hardest thing to go through. But the real big challenge is, I would say, some form of nutritional adherence, so following a plan. And the choice not to follow that plan, and the options that are present to you every day. I think there are 10, 20 million options every single day where you get a choice. Do I follow it or do I not? For most South Asian people, that choice is where it goes wrong or right, whether it's the emotional decisions, whether it's the cravings. I mean, that's a super blanket statement because I don't want to say like cravings or something like that, because it's bigger than that. But there's opportunities every day to go back to where you were before.
To your default.
Yeah, and I know people that won't waste food because of the family generations previously, but then they also eat terribly because they don't want to waste food, so they struggle on their diet. So it's like, okay, that's a choice. You've made that choice. Or I've got people that won't say no to their mum, but their mum's a massive feeder. They go around 4 times a week, and they won't change how many times they go around or the conversation with the mum. infinitely hard to get in shape. So these decisions come down to the bottleneck. Most people want to push it up a generation. And like, this is what we do. This is how we do it. This is our culture. This is India. This is Pakistan. You know, and I'm like, I mean, they're doing it now in Britain. It's like, we're British. It's like, but eventually the funnel on your health comes down to you. And I think there's no better weight to decide those decisions, regardless of the community and the culture. Like, I love the variety of reasons why food is what it is. But I also want each individual person to note how important your own decision in that construct and how it's impacting you. It's always about consequences. Because if you have severe consequences from something that you really want to do, but you're getting loads of consequences from it, is it serving you right now? Yeah. I hate that saying, but is it serving you? But like, it's true.
It's true. And I guess it's easy to start blaming your environment. It's easy to start blaming your family. Like, it's their food. It's because they keep forcing me. At the end of the day, it's still your decision. And I think that's it's the hardest pill to digest. But once you digest that, that's where change would begin.
Yeah. And you don't need to change. Like, I'm not saying, I always come from a white guy, be like, change all this stuff. But like, I don't think you should change 99% of the things that what food means or what community means or what culture means.
It can still mean all that.
It can mean all of those things. But does it need to be every time? And does it need to be every quantity? And does it need to be all of the, like, a reason why, as opposed to, despite this, I did this. Yeah. I just think it's really powerful because complete ownership is what everything we control. And the people that are in shape, and you look at the people that have got, like, I guess, a span of 20 years of losing weight and keeping it off, one of the biggest commonalities is ownership and accountability on themselves. And then whether they track data or not, but that's number 3. That's it.
And it's not just the big decisions that you, like, when you think of these big transformations, you think of like these huge decisions that you have to make, but it's even the small ones, like choosing to take the stairs instead of going to the elevator, choosing to just instead of like replacing that sugar craving with the fruit. I don't know, like, these are small decisions that can contribute to it.
Yeah. The small lead to the big. Once you've made the big decision of wanting to change, 'cause that's always big, and then I don't think that can be small. It has to be a large commitment. It has to be a mental investment, and then you can make small tweaks between those big investments that you make
to achieve that. We're almost, the time is up, but I love that we ended on this note of autonomy. And I love that that's the name of your brand as well, autonomy, because at the end of the day, like, you are giving all of this advice, which I'm sure a lot of people will learn from, but it's still their decision. It's what they do with the advice. What are they going to take from this entire 2-hour long episode, right? So it's a personal decision that we make every single day. Just before we end, I know I'm kind of like diverting, which I should have been asked this in the very beginning. We'll probably plug this in the beginning. In the beginning, you mentioned about how you went to India, the US, Kenya. You went to all these countries. I kind of wanted to compare the South Asians or Indians that you saw in India and Pakistan. You didn't go to Pakistan. You should go to Pakistan, yeah. But you went to India. The Indians that you saw there versus, I guess, the South Asians that you see in Dubai, in the UAE. How would you compare? What was the biggest difference that you saw between Indians in India and Indians in UAE?
Do you know what? I think they're a lot closer than most people think they are. Okay. Because, and my exposure to India is very much the 1%er. Like, I know a lot of people that we know exposed me to the top shelf in Mumbai or the top shelf in Delhi. So
makes sense.
I did a lot of the tourist stuff, but most of the stuff when it comes to the lifestyles that people lead who we work with, very similar. Like, most have house help, most have drivers, most have shoe cleaners, whoever they are, and they are equally very social. So it's very mix of traditional homes, but also then socializing for business or work or just general life. Mm-hmm. So normally Dubai looks very, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. Mumbai looks like, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever it is. I think there's a very big construct between the two, and there's a lot of comparison in terms of the nature of how they deal with their lifestyles. I think it's a lot more closer than what most people think. That's why I think most people come over here, attractive nature, because it's is just a little bit more glitzy and glamoury, less traffic.
Less traffic. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Even though the traffic still sucks here, but
Yeah.
less traffic. Yeah.
But the food is better over there, and the quality of food is better.
Over here.
No,
Over
in
there.
India. Yeah, because you get it straight from. I mean, the street food over there is irreplaceable. So.
But like, is it still good for you?
I mean, so I always plan it like this. One pani puri is like 40 calories. So like, if you really wanted to go for it, you could have like 150 if you wanted to. I think my record is like, I think we did a challenge. It was like 5 minutes. I did like maybe 86 or something like that. That's amateur. You should see these guys online. Crazy. That's your YouTube. When you sit in bed tonight,
those are the
snacks.
videos that you watch.
Yeah.
Seeing people eat pani puri.
Extra hot, spicy pani puri challenges.
Oh
They're crazy.
my god!
Yeah.
But that's a tradition as well. Having pani puri race, like we do that with our siblings. Every time we go to the street food, the first thing we do is we race. I think the max is probably like I've done is maybe 10.
Amateur. It's the technique. It's like you feel bang.
Yeah, I can't do that. Like I'm still learning that until now. I think you could teach me better.
We do it with a like initiation process for all of our coaches. So not all of our coaches are South Asian. Some of them obviously white like me, and then some of them are like Middle Eastern, and some of them had never had this luxury of having the street food.
Yeah.
So then when they come in and they come to our I have the team at my house basically. So we have team days, and I just lined up the food, and I was like, here's the pani puri rice, and now you've got to do like that's the initiative, right? So
that's how you that's
your,
how you
that's your onboarding.
onboard.
Yeah, this is how you coach clients. Start with pani puri, fill with dal chawla.
I love that.
But that you go and get the foods, and then most people some of them haven't tried some of the, I guess, offbeat variations that you would know and I would know because I've been to various different places. They wouldn't have tried.
They wouldn't have known about it at all. Yeah.
So they were like the street food variations. When you see these guys eat tamarind pani puri or samosa chaat for the first time, you're like, yeah, your life just changed. Like it did mine as well.
That's the new snack now when they're watching a movie.
Literally.
It's better than nachos. Come on, you have to agree.
I mean, nachos go soggy at the bottom. Anyway, nachos go soggy at the bottom. I hate them. They have to spread them out evenly, otherwise it just becomes cheese, whatever you have on the top, and then the last moment is the dry chips at the bottom.
Yeah, I can't with nachos. No, yeah. Well, Nathan, thank you so much for being here. I had such a great time. I hope you did too. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to learn so much from this episode. I'm really excited for it to come out. But thank you. We can do a little cheers in the end with our empty cups. That means it was a good cup of chai.
It went. Yeah, it's good.
Perfect.